Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's lesson. So let's go ahead and get started with our lesson objective. So today we will add and subtract fractions with unlike denominators. Okay, let's go ahead and go on to our vocabulary. So let's do a quick review of what is a fraction. So fractions represent a part of the whole or a collection of objects, and they need to have equal parts. So all of our parts need to be the same size. So we have our pizza, it's cut into equal pieces. All right, let's go ahead and keep going. So our next word is a denominator, and this one's going to be really, really important for today's lesson. So a denominator is a number of parts the whole is divided into. This number is the bottom of the fraction. So our bottom number is our denominator, and it tells us how many pieces or how many parts we're splitting our whole into. All right, and our numerator. So a numerator is the number that represents the parts of the whole that are considered as taken. And this number is the top of the fraction. So our numerator is right here. It tells us how many pieces we took. So we cut our pizza into 8 pieces and then we took one, or we ate one. Hopefully we ate one because that would be delicious. All right, let's go ahead and go on to equivalent. So what does equivalent mean? Also another important word for this lesson. It's having the same amount. So over here we see 1/2, we see 2/4, and we see 3/6. We see that yes, the fraction is different, but the amount is the same. So 1/2 is the same amount as 2/4, which is the same amount as 3/6. So we're changing the name, but we're keeping the same amount. So that is what equivalent means, having the same amount. All right, now let's go ahead and get started. So what we're going to do is we are going to add fractions unlike denominators. So that what that means is we have denominators that are different. So over here, we have tenths and we have sixths, right? They're not the same denominator. The 3/10 is showing us that we have a whole, and we are cutting it into 10 equal pieces. Ideally, they'd be equal. I know that doesn't look equal. And then the other one, we're cutting it into 6, right? So our denominators are not the same, but we need to add them and see what we can do, right? And what our fractions are. Now, before we get into our problem, I want to go over why do we need a common denominator? There should be a question mark right at the end of this, right? So why do we need a common denominator? Why is that so important? So over here I have an example. I have 2 apples, right? And I have 2 oranges. I want to combine them together and find out how much I have all together. Now, something that I can't do is I can't combine these together and say that I have 4 apples, right? Because I don't. And the other thing that I can't do is I can't, get my eraser. I also can't go in here and say that I have 4 oranges, right? Because I don't have 4 oranges. I only have 2 oranges. So what I have to do is, if I want to combine them together and tell someone what I have to change their name. I can't say I have 4 apples, but I also can't say I have 4 oranges because I don't. I don't have 4 apples and I don't have 4 oranges. But what I can do is I can rename these and think of what do they have in common. What are some things that they have in common? I look at these and I know that apples and oranges, they're both fruit, right? So both apples and oranges are fruit. So I can rename what I'm calling them. And now I can say I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Because yes, I have 4 fruit. I do have that. So in the same way, we're going to do the same thing for fractions. Because the rule about fractions is we have to have like denominators. I can't combine these and say I have tenths or I can't say I have 6 because it's not true. I'm not going to have that amount. So what we're going to go ahead and do, what we need to do is we need to find something that they have in common so that we can change their name and tell people how much we have. So what we're going to do in this case is we are going to find multiples. And what multiples means is we're just going to multiply that number over and over again and find out what the product is going to be. So for example, we're going to go ahead and use 10. Hang on one second. We're going to look at our tenths, right? Our tenths right here. And so I know that 10 times 1 is 10. So I'm going to write that. Now I got to go ahead and think, okay, what is 10 times 2? Or 10 plus 10? That is 20, right? What is 10 times 3? That's 30. If I keep going, that's 40, 50, 60, 70. I'm going to stop right there and see if that is enough. So we're going to go ahead and see if we can we're going to do the same thing with the 6. All right, so we're going to go to 6. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. Times 3 is 18. Times 4 is 24. Sorry. Times 5 is 30. Times 6 is 36. I'm going to have to move my face out of the way for this. I can already tell. Okay. Times 7 is 42. Times 8 is 48. Times 9 is 54, and times 10 is 60. So I'm going to go ahead and stop right there. Now, what I have to do is see if there are any common numbers in here, okay? So if I'm looking through all of these, okay, I see, let me change the color of my pen. I see that, I see a 60 here in the 10, and I see 60 here in the 6. So I know that that is a common multiple because those are something they both have in common. So what we're going to do is we are now going to take our tenths and cut them up so we have 60ths. So I'm going to go ahead and put this right here, and I'm going to, really quickly, I'm going to erase this portion. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and take my tenths and cut them into, sorry guys, I'm going to cut them into 60 pieces, right? And I'm going to take my 6, and I'm going to cut that into 60ths, right? So what we do is we took our whole, we cut them into 60ths, right? But what we do to the bottom number, we have to do the top number. So what I have to do now is I have to think about, okay, what did I multiply 10 by to get to 60? So I can use this chart right here, and I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I multiplied my 10 by 6 to get to 60. I have to do the same to the top, to my numerator. So if I have 3, I want to multiply that by 6 as well. So I know that 6 times 3 is 18. So now we have 18/6. Now I got to go ahead and do the same thing to the other side. So now what did I multiply 6 by to get to 60? Let's go ahead and look at our numbers right here. So I multiplied 6 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I multiplied 6 by 10. So that is going to give me 60. So because I multiplied my denominator by 10, I have to multiply my numerator by 10 as well. So 2 times 10 is 20. Okay, now I have common denominators, and now I can add them together. So all together, we are going to count up how many 60ths we have. So our denominator is not going to change. It's going to stay as 60ths. We want to find out how many 60ths we have. So we're going to add 18 plus 20, which gives us 38. So our sum is 38/60. Okay, fantastic. Let's go ahead and go on to our next problem. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing, but this time we're going to do it with subtraction. We're going to find the difference of 5, 6 subtracted minus 3/12. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and look at our denominators. They're not the same, so we have to find a common denominator so they can be the same. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the same thing. We're going to find factors. So I'm going to go ahead and do my 6. I'm going to find out what is 6 times 1. That's 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 4 is 24. And 6 times 5 is 30. I'm going to go ahead and stop there and see if I can find something. Now let's go ahead and find our factors of 12, or our multiples of 12. So we're going to go ahead and do 12. 12 times 1 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24. 12 times 3 is 36. 12 times 4 is 48. And 12 times 5 is 60. All right, now let's go ahead and look and see if we can find a common multiple. Okay, so looking at this, I see my 12 here and I see a 12 there. Okay, so I found a common multiple. So let's go ahead and find out and put these all together. Or I'm sorry, change our fractions so we have common denominators. So I'm actually going to go ahead and write it here so it gets a little bit less confusing. So I'm going to go ahead and we want to change it to 12 here. We're going to minus that from another 12. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at what did I have to multiply 6 by to get 12. So I see that I had to multiply 6 by 1, 2 times 2. So what I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So I'm going to multiply 2 times 5, which gives me 10. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and look at 3/12, right? So what do I need to multiply 12 by to get 12? Oh, just 1. So it's 12, right? So I don't need to change anything. So I multiplied the bottom by 1, right? Because 12 times 1 is 12. And then I can go ahead and multiply the top by 1, which gives me 3. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to take 10 twelfths and I'm going to take away 3/12, which is going to give me 7/12. Okay, so our difference is 7/12. All right, fantastic. Let's go ahead and review our lesson objective. So our lesson objective for today was we added and subtracted fractions with unlike denominators. All right, fantastic. Y'all did great. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.